Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Present.
Councilmember Isles.
Here.
Councilmember Nusma.
Here.
Councilmember Suffredin.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
All right, that's a quorum. Our first thing is approval of any virtual participation, if there's any requests. Requests for virtual participation, council members, I don't believe there is.
No, I don't think there is.
All right, that brings us to public comment. Is there anybody signed up for public comment? Excellent. Our next item is approval of the minutes of the Administration Public Works Committee meeting of July 28th, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved by Councilmember Harris, seconded by Councilmember Nusma. Any discussion? All right, we can just do that on a voice vote, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that passes. Brings us to the consent calendar. I'd like to remove items A2, A25, A7, and A15. Is there anybody else who has items they'd like removed?
Can you say that again? Ace.
A2, A25, A7, and A15.
I'm going to take off A8.
And A8 as well. Is that good with everybody? Okay. So do I have a motion on the consent calendar minus those items?
I'll move the consent agenda minus those items. Do you want me to say those?
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, okay, great. Moved by Councilmember Kelly, seconded by Councilmembers Nusma and Harris. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Isles.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Chair Suffredin.
Aye. All right, so on a 5-0 vote, that one passes. The next item is item A2.
Mr. Chair, I will move approval of the BMO Harris Amazon credit card activity in the amount of $21,305.11.
Second.
All right, moved by Councilmember Nusma, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Any discussion? Let's vote.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
Councilmember Isles.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Chair Suffredin.
I abstain. On a 4-0 vote, the item A2 is passed. Going in order, that brings us to item A7, which is approval of a contract with Carrier Corporation for Police Fire Headquarters chiller replacement.
Mr. Chair, I will move approval of that contract in the amount of $547,824.
Second.
All right, moved by Councilmember Nusma, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. So I guess I just had a couple of questions regarding the exemption from the responsible bidder ordinance and local employment. So I just want to understand some of the work that's done, like demolition, if they're going to be, why we aren't holding them to the responsible bidder ordinance, say for their subcontractors or.
Sure. Good evening, members of the committee. My name is Chris Seuss. I'm the Assistant City Engineer. So from what we're seeing with the Responsible Bidders Ordinance, they have to meet certain criteria. When staff reached out to Carrier, who happens to be the person who's procuring, removing, and installing the new equipment, they made us aware that they will be unable to meet the requirements of that Responsible Bidders Ordinance. So upon inquiring to them, they made us aware they wouldn't. That's why.
So, I mean, I know are they going to be, how much are they self-performing?
I'm sorry?
Are they self-performing the entire?
I'm not aware of exactly what percentage, and we're pretty sure that they're going to be performing a significant amount of the work. But they didn't necessarily specify exactly why they weren't meeting the criteria for RBO, but that they wouldn't meet the criteria that we set them, which was the language within the ordinance.
Okay. Because I know, like, for subcontracting for demolition, there are, firms that would meet our RBO standards. If we could not have worked with them more to ensure that at least most of the work, such as the installation and demolition, meets our standards.
Sure. It's something sure we could look into.
Okay. Yeah, just because this is so important that we all unanimously supported it and really want to set the bar on the type of work, I would rather see that happen first before supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, so is that
Okay.
a motion to?
That would be a motion to hold this until we can research a little bit more to see if, carrier can in fact either subcontract with subcontractors that can meet our RBO.
I do want to make sure that council or the committee is aware, based on the timeline and criteria of when we want to install these units, there's a 20-week lead time. So the expectation is that we would like for these units to be up and running at the police fire headquarters well within the 2026 season of when the air conditioner would need to be used. So right now, we're looking at end of February, beginning of March, from when we'd actually get the material to be delivered. After that, there may be some delays that may happen, causing the material to take longer. So right now, it's an emergency. It's more or less of an emergency issue, where in order to get those chillers in advance of the summer or season in which the air conditioner would be needed, staff would request for you guys to take a look at more or less of the timeline, the 20-week lead time, and kind of treat this as more of a crucial request.
I guess it's 2 weeks, so just to hold to our till our next meeting.
All right, so just for clarity, this motion is to table this till our next meeting.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a second? I'll second it for purposes of discussion. Are you done, Councilmember? Okay. So when Carrier said they couldn't comply with our ordinance, did staff do anything to find someone who could?
So this was bid through the Omnia contract, in which we use, many municipalities do, where we identify a contractor in which it can do the scope of work. Once we were made aware that they couldn't, it was recent in which communication happened between staff and Carrier, and in which they identified that, hey, we cannot meet the responsible bidders ordinance or the language within the ordinance. And that was fairly recently, because all of this, the language of the ordinance itself and a lot of the contract language in which was recently put in the new bids had to be sent out to them to confirm, are you or are you not able to meet the language that's within the ordinance? And they said no. As far as staff's inquiry back, I believe that's where it was left off.
Okay.
And looking into further companies, I think at this point, because of the lead time and where we are with the timeline, I think the expectation was we'd come to the city council or to the committee and ask for your guys' recommendation of the next steps.
Okay. Because I think the general practice isn't for us to pass ordinances with the expectation that staff isn't going to abide by them. And I'm not directing that at you, Chris, but I think that's something that needs to be very clearly understood by city staff. Councilmember, or I'll go to Alex first and then Councilmember Newsome.
Thank you, Chair Suffredin. For the record, Alex Ruggie, Corporation Counsel. I did want to specify that in general, like a waiver to the RBO is not something that we would be able to bring. A waiver is not an option under the RBO. And if we decided to bring a waiver, we would be subject to bid objections because other people could say, oh, I didn't apply because the waiver wasn't offered, but I would have if I had known. This situation's a little bit different because we did not go out to bid. It was used through this common group that we get contracts through. And my understanding is the majority of this is the purchase of the equipment. Part of this process, though, is that they remove the old equipment and install the new equipment. But the majority of this contract is the purchase of the chillers.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Councilmember Newsome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just reading what's in the memo, this is a turnkey contract, and Carrier is doing everything with no subcontracts associated with the agreement. So, I think that is what it is. I'm not sure if that gets us into legal jeopardy. You're saying it doesn't because we didn't go out to bid.
That's correct. Normally, we would not be able to request a waiver. The only reason we are right now is because we went through the contracting service.
And, we're talking about putting $500,000 into a building we might not be in for longer than 2 or 3 years, which gives me pause. Should we go out to bid on this one and try and get a lower price? Or does that put us back in the timeline where we're not going to be able to keep the building cool next summer?
Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. Sean Cholik, Facilities and Fleet Manager. Those are excellent questions, and I think something that we've been kind of grappling with this whole time. It's a building that we know that it doesn't suit our operational needs anymore. But at this point, you know, because of the 20-week lead time that we have to get the equipment fabricated, that brings us to the beginning of February. And then we also have installation time, logistical time, installation time. We've got to test the system, make sure it's running. You know, that could take a little bit of extra time that could push us into the beginning of spring. We want to make sure that we have this up and running in case we get a super hot beginning of spring for some reason. It's not something we typically get, but you never know in Chicago. But it's definitely something that's a concern in terms of keeping the building going. You know, we're talking maybe 2 to 3 years, but then again, we also, if I'm correct, we don't have a decision yet on what location we may be going to or anything like that. So realistically, with the design process and, you know, getting feedback from everybody, it may be 3 to 5 years to get this project completed. In the meantime, we would have to continue police operations and fire operations in this headquarter facilities. As we're building the new one or building out whatever building we, you know, shift into, we're going to have to keep both facilities going as they're building the new one. So, you know, it's 3 to 5 years approximately that it could take for us to complete it. It's definitely not something that we can wait any longer on. I don't even think, in my opinion, I don't think it's worth pushing the date back, because we do risk a chance of getting into, you know, early spring. If we need to get cooling in there, we would have it.
Yeah. And the memo enumerated several lower cost options which have been ruled out for various reasons. You addressed those reasons in writing to a memo to council. Maybe you could just run through them real quick for
Oh, boy.
public.
Do you know anything about the other options that you could run through them? I apologize, I'm not that well versed on those other options. We'll let Shane Carey speak to those.
Good evening, members of the Administrative Committee and Chair. My name is Shane Carey. I'm an architect, and I've been set in charge of getting trying to assemble this project to deliver these chillers by next summer. So there were 5 options that were presented by Groom and Buckus. So we went out to get an engineering firm to provide expertise to help make sure that the path that we were taking was the best path for us because of the challenging situation that we're in. The first option that we discussed with them had to do with renting chillers instead of replacing the chillers. And so we would do that. What we would do is we would prepare a connection point for the chillers, for a rental chiller to be rented, moved on site, and connected in an emergency. There are certain drawbacks to that. Chillers of this size are not necessarily always available. They have a tendency to, in the summertime, if there's a hurricane, they all disappear down to the location of the hurricane. So they're not always available, and that was made very clear by Carrier when we first started talking about this summer, because we were actually concerned about these chillers making it through this summer. The second option has a full replacement of the chillers and in kind. It's kind of exactly as they currently are, except some minor modernizations. And this is the recommended option. It's not an easy recommendation, but that was the recommended option. Option 3 was taking it, instead of, this is going to get complicated, we have 2 chillers that are located in the basement. We have 3 condensers that are located on the roof that support those 2 chillers. One of the 2 chillers is larger than the other. 2 of the 3 go to one one goes to the other. Regardless, those condensers, the condenser and the chiller, if you put the condenser and the chiller into a single piece of equipment, it's called an air-cooled chiller. If you keep them separate, then it's a chiller with a condenser on the roof or a condenser that's remotely located. If we were to provide a chiller that is air-cooled, the condenser is attached to it. It takes up too much, it weighs too much, so you can't put it on the roof, and it takes up a lot of space. You have to put it on the ground somewhere on the property of the police. And that causes us problems with the use of the parking lot, frankly, because that's where it has to go. There's also concerns that go along with noise when you place a piece of equipment of this size on the ground near your property line. So that was option 4. That was option 3, sorry. Option 4 is to add an additional chiller that has a split system where one chiller would be located on the property, on the ground, because it's too heavy to be on the roof, and then the condenser would be located on the roof. Now, we would have to go and get structural engineering in order to identify a way to support this on the roof, and that will take time. So that's one of the issues. And again, although this requires the least amount of space on the property, on the ground, it still is taking up too much space for our operation. The 5th option has to do with using an additional air-cooled chiller that's also placed on the ground. So this is very similar to the last one that I just described, except the condenser is attached to it. The unit gets a little bit bigger, and it has to be located on the ground somewhere in the parking lot. So those were the 5 options that we kind of boiled all of the things that we talked about and worked through. Those were the 5 options that kind of got boiled down to as potential. And then the recommendation is to fully replace these chillers.
I understand that parking is already at a premium in the for EPD vehicles. How many parking spaces would we lose by one of these ground-mounted options?
I believe we'll lose about 4 to 5. Now, I can't tell you what the percentage is because I'm not sure exactly how many spaces we have there. My apologies. Yeah, again, I just want to say that this was not an easy recommendation for us to make. I recognize that we're recommending you to do something that goes against an ordinance that you just passed. It's a big cost that doesn't quite align with our long-term plans for the police fire headquarters. Unfortunately, though, we're in this position where these chillers, we started talking about replacing the chillers probably 2 years ago, at least 2 years ago. And we kept on deciding, well, maybe we can get them to last a little bit longer. And the year before last, the past 2 years, this summer, I don't think that we've actually had any failures there. But the 2 summers, both of the summers 2 years previous, we have. And last summer, right around in August, towards the end of August, it really got bad, where both of the chillers actually failed and stopped working, and we didn't have any cooling for the facility, or very nearly no cooling. There's some small pieces that actually do have cooling, but it's not sufficient. So we've made it through this summer, and we're very grateful of that, and we're very concerned that we won't have cooling at any given time next summer. So that's why we have this very difficult
Any
recommendation.
other significant expenses involved in maintaining that building that are not on our radar? Like, we've already paid for the elevator repair, I believe. Is that correct? Okay. Elevator's operational and paid for.
Yes, elevator has been refurbished. That one is operational. We've also got some boiler work, I believe, that needs to be done, which we are talking with engineering about. I don't have a number of what that is going to cost at this point, but don't believe there's anything else significant. But if we go another 3 to 5 years, we may have some other expenses coming up.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
All right, Councilmember Isles, you're next, but I see that Councilmember Davis has entered the Zoom. Alex, is it appropriate for us to just take a quick vote on allowing remote participation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Councilmember Davis, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, great. Well, why don't we,
I will move to allow remote participation by Councilmember Davis.
Second.
all right, it's been moved and seconded. Can I have a roll call on that?
Councilmember Kelly? Aye. Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Chair Suffredin?
Aye. All right, so welcome aboard, Councilmember Davis. Councilmember Isles, you're up.
I just want to know, what is your level of confidence that you can answer the RPO question if we
Thanks for
give you an
catching
extra 2 weeks, or if 2 weeks from now we'll be in exactly the same spot?
That's really difficult for me to answer because I'm relying on Carrier's legal department. So the people that I deal with on a regular basis, they've provided me with their opinion, which is that they cannot. And as soon as I received that, I started to push back because there were, I know some things that are in the ordinance that I believe that they do meet. But there are specifics about it that really has to be them that makes the decision. And they have to provide us, my understanding is they have to provide us with some documentation in order to back that up. And so there's no way for me to be able to answer that. 2 weeks is actually right on the edge of how quick it typically takes to get like a contract language change through a legal department like this. I can say that, but that doesn't mean you can't. That just means that on average, it's usually right around 2 to 3 weeks. So we could be in exactly the same boat.
Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. So this was not bid, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
This is a
Okay, and it is a large project. So, I mean, the
Cooperative
price
purchasing
is,
agreement.
so I will continue with the hold. I feel like it'd be worth a conversation. It's not just the responsible bidder ordinance, it's the local hiring ordinance, it's the MWDVE. So, I would like to at least, I generally don't like, subcontracting, but I think we should at least look to see if some of this work, I know there is a good portion of this work that there are firms that can meet those standards. So at least, we wouldn't be in the same place in that at least that conversation would have been had in 2 weeks. So I feel like this is important, and it's over $500,000, and it's 2 weeks.
So my expectation for this project, based on my conversations with 2 companies, is that in order to meet the RBO, unless Carrier can come through, I will have to go out and get do an RFP for a design firm. It'll take about 3 months, to procure a design firm. It'll take them about 2 months in order to scope the work, identify what needs to be done, and put together drawings. And then after they put together drawings, we can go out for a bid, and that takes about 3 months. So we should have a bid to prepare and show to you in about 8 months from now if I take that path. And that is the reason why we did not make that decision when I was first set towards this path of replace these chillers by next summer.
Well, I appreciate that you worked with Grumman Butkus, so we still have,
Absolutely. They have started the scoping project, and if we hire them to move forward, but
so we've already done
unless I am
some-
sadly mistaken, I will have to do an RFP in order to get them hired. And then it'll take about 2 months for them, after we hire them, 2 months for them to prepare bid documents.
Okay, I'm just trying, so we entered into an agreement with Grumman Butkus, and they provided the options, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so there's been some scoping out already by Grumman Butkus.
That is correct.
Okay, that's good. So we wouldn't need to do that again. That's been done.
Yes.
I guess my question is also in terms of carrier, in terms of subcontracting with firms that can, if that conversation can be had directly with the firm, with carrier.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow.
Can carrier consider, rather than, as you said, since it's a turnkey project or one where they're performing all the work, if there's a possibility of subcontracting with a firm that would meet our standards?
I got you. So I want to delve into a realm that I'm not fully versed in. But so the carrier contract that's under the cooperative purchasing agreement is a turnkey contract. So in that contract, the one that's a part of the cooperative purchasing agreement, it's turnkey. So they can't break away from that within the Omnia contract. There are other firms that have a contract through the Omnia, the cooperative purchasing agreement, that is not turnkey, and with those we could. And there are some firms that have both, but my understanding is that carrier has this turnkey process. So in order to use carrier, I have to do it turnkey. Okay, now I did reach out to another company that is under the cooperative purchasing agreement. And they were not able to provide these types of units. The equipment that they had actually had the compressors in the wrong place. They're up on the roof. And then we would have to do an engineering analysis for the structure of the building and make structural modifications to the building in order to use their units. So that one wasn't actually a turnkey project, which would have gotten me past the MWDBE issue, but then it would have increased my problem with the 25% pass-through, because my understanding is that if I'm working with a manufacturer, that work would not qualify for the 25% work. So Carrier is actually the only manufacturer that's in our region that provides their own work, their own personnel that actually do the installation. So they're the only ones that can do the 25% self-performance. So you see where I've got two possibilities that are on the table, and I've taken one off because, for two reasons, and the other one remains.
So, and then the last question is.
Guys, this is a very
No, thank you.
difficult-
That's helpful. That's helpful information. So how many months, because I know this came to finance and budget, because this isn't budgeted, this is outside of our budget for this year, about 2 months ago. So I'm just, how much lead time did we need to have RFP'd this?
The RFP process takes about 3 months.
Okay. So if it came to us 2 months ago, and we must have known about this. And the RBO passed at the end of May. So I'm just a little confused as to why this didn't go out to, why there wasn't an RFP back,
So if I started with an RFP process for a design bid build procurement in May, I've got 8 months, right, for the design to go out and the bid to come back. So when does that put me? That puts me at 8 plus, help me out.
January.
8 plus 5, that puts me in January. I've got 20 weeks from the date of the bid being awarded in order to procure the chillers. So 20 weeks from January that's back in, when is that? June or July?
Yeah, in June, July.
So I failed. So
All right, so the motion on the table for everyone's education is to table this till our next meeting, correct? All right, you can have a roll call on that motion.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Councilmember Isles?
No.
Councilmember Nusma?
No.
Councilmember Suffredin.
Aye. Davis.
Councilmember Davis, thank you.
Aye.
All right, so there's a neutral recommendation on a motion to table, which means what?
A motion to table requires a simple majority to pass.
All right, so then we continue the discussion on the agenda item. And the add a sixth person to Administration Public Works plan has worked. So is there any further discussion on the item?
We have to vote on the underlying motion now.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Does anybody have any discussion on it, or are we ready to vote? If there's no discussion, let's have a vote.
Councilmember Kelly? No. Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin? Councilmember Davis?
No.
All right, so that moves the council with a neutral recommendation. Next item that was pulled off consent agenda was item A8. Is there a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I will move, Mr. Chair, I will move item A8, approval of a contract award to Black Hawk HVAC Incorporated for chimney flue installation and masonry repairs at the Noise Cultural Arts Center in the amount of $138,900.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Yes, please.
Yep, Councilmember Nusma.
Yeah, so Chris, if you wouldn't mind stepping back up to the mic, I am wondering why it was not anticipated that we needed to do this chimney lining when we installed these high efficiency boilers 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Sure. So I wasn't part of the discussion in 2022, but I know that it was done on an emergency basis in which we had to respond. Perhaps Sean will be better.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, Sean Trolik, Facilities and Fleet Manager. So in October of 22, it was discovered that we had a failure of 2 boilers at Noise, 2 out of the 3. And at that point, we scrambled to get a couple different quotes on an emergency basis and get new boilers installed there. This work was quoted out by 3 different companies. At no point did any of them indicate to us that a chimney liner was recommended to do this work. So the boilers were installed, and clearly now we're having some problems with it.
All right. Seems like somebody maybe should have caught it somewhere. If you're installing a high-efficiency hot water heater furnace at your own house, what you know if you watch the home improvement shows is you need a PVC exhaust or whatever because of the condensation and the corrosive nature of it. So just note to ourselves next time, if we do something like this, to take that into account sooner rather than later. That's all.
Anybody else? I guess this would be directed at Deputy City Manager Sanchez, since you're the highest ranking person here. I think this is the type of thing that an after action report, so we can understand who missed what and ensure that it doesn't happen again, would be appropriate. And so that's not really a direction, it's just a request that we get a full understanding. I mean, there would have been a cost if this had been done at the time of installation, but I don't know that it would have been $138,000. So that's just my request of staff. Or Chris, I don't know if it's a request of you or if you're just going back to get your paper.
I'll take a look at it. I know, from my understanding, I don't believe the staff member who was working on it at that time is still with the city, but I will take a second look and double check exactly why it wasn't.
And I'm not necessarily looking for personal accountability as much as process accountability, because this is the type of thing that we just can't afford to miss,
of course,
over and over. So with that, is there any other discussion? If not, let's have a vote.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Isles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
All right. So on a 6-0 vote, that passes. That brings us to item A15. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll move item A15, approval of a single source renewal for Cisco SmartNet support for 2025 in the dollar amount of $61,477.06.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Nusma, seconded by Councilmember Harris. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Isles.
I pulled this off the consent agenda. My wife used to work for CDW. We have stock. It's on my financial disclosure, so I have to abstain.
All right, any other discussion? Councilmember Kelly?
So just one comment, just there's an awful lot of sole source, single source, sole source. I know at least one other council member who's not on APW was concerned about this too. It seems like an inordinate amount of sole source contracts. I mean, I don't really like to see that. I mean, I feel like it doesn't guarantee us that we're getting our, is there any, I think this is a little above and beyond 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anyway, I just want to point that out. I don't think it's a great practice to be being presented with so many sole source contracts.
If I could just answer, this is around the time of year. A lot of these are renewals.
Okay, are these, is that the case?
And this is about the time of year. That's why you see a lot of all together.
Thank you. Are these all renewals, the 6?
They're not all. A lot of them are renewals.
Okay.
And then each memo will have the reason why it's sole or single. But
Okay.
yeah, most of them are renewals at this point.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, no further discussion. Let's vote it up.
Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Isles.
I abstain.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
All right, on 6-0 that passes, and I believe that the last item that was pulled off is item A25, which is the display of flags on city property. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I will move ordinance 51025, creating Title I, Chapter 23, display of flags on city property.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Just real quick, I had a question, a request for clarification. And the city manager is the person who needs to answer this. He's not here, but this does not, so I guess Alex or Karina?
Liza.
Okay, or Liza. This does not preclude the flying of the POW MIA flag at Fountain Square, correct?
Thank you. Liza Robertson-Young, Chief Legislative Policy Advisor. It would not prohibit flying that flag. There would just be some additional minor process that we'd need to go through where the city manager or designee would need to direct that the flag continue to be flown, or would need to be subject to a proclamation by the mayor or a resolution by city council. But it could certainly still continue to be
Okay,
flown.
I just want to make sure that's an important thing to a lot of people.
Yep.
So, thank you. All right, we can vote on this unless anybody wants to jump in.
Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Isles.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
All right, 6-0 vote, that one passes. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, voice vote.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. I believe planning and development is scheduled for 5:45.